Peak week is the week to not fuck up. So here are the 3 ways that I fucked up. Hey guys, and we have a little bit of a different video today. Usually I'm showing you recipes, usually I'm taking you through a full day of eating, all of that good stuff. But today there is going to be no food, no recipes. Today instead I'm going to be taking you through 3 mistakes that I made during my first ever peak week. So if you were following the channel along over the last sort of 5 or so months, you'll know that I recently competed about 2 months ago now, which has actually flown by, in men's physique for the first time ever. So it was my first ever bodybuilding show. I did it entirely self-coached and it was a really good experience. I did a lot of things right, I did a lot of things wrong in retrospect. Obviously I didn't realise at the time they were wrong, but I definitely made 3 big mistakes when it comes to peak week, which is that final week before you step on stage. I think it's really important to address the mistakes you made because you can learn from them massively, and that is exactly why I want to share these mistakes with you, because if you're going to be doing a peak week, I want you to take into account the mistakes I made, so hopefully you don't make the same mistakes, or you just make the same mistakes to a lesser degree. So kicking things off with mistake number 1, and that is that I didn't practice my peak week during diet breaks and deload periods. Peaking a physique is not an easy task to do. You need to time things correctly to look your best at one moment in time, and you need to plan everything around that one moment on stage. It's not even one day, it's that one 5-minute period on stage. And if you've never done that before, then you have no idea how your body is going to respond, because everybody is so individual. Yes, I can look at guys like Steve Hall and see what they're doing, but if I do exactly what he does, it's not going to work for me, or probably won't work for me, because we're different people and our physiology is completely different. So you need to practice these things to know how your body will respond to it. Yes, you can never perfectly replicate the peak week situation because you don't have that stress of peak week. You aren't as lean as you will be in actual peak week, but you can get a lot of data, you can gather data points, you can gain experience, you can see whether you look best after 1 day of refeeding, 2 days, 3 days. Do you look best if you spill over and then clean up for 1 day or 2 days? Do you look best on rice? Do you look best on rice cakes? Do oats work well for you? Do potatoes work well for you? If you don't practice these things, then you have no idea. Obviously you don't want to do these during your diet phases because you're hypocaloric, your calories are too low to see anything. But if you can plan out some time where you're deloading or you're in a diet break where you can push your calories up, you should be practicing your peak weeks, because that's something I didn't do. And the issue that I had in not doing this is that it led to me not being confident in my plan going into peak week. Because I wasn't confident of the plan, I wasn't sure of the plan that I put together, I ended up changing my plan like on a daily basis during peak week, but those changes weren't objective. They weren't based on actual objective measures that told me things need to be changed. It was purely emotional, and anybody that's been through a bodybuilding prep knows that when you're in peak week, you're not in a good state mentally to be making emotionally based decisions. You are irrational, you basically have body dysmorphia, and this is exactly why a coach is important, because you cannot make these decisions yourself. So if you are uncoached, especially like I was, it is so important to go into peak week with practice and data and previous experience, so that you're not questioning yourself and changing the plan every 5 minutes like I did. Mistake number 2 is that I was not aggressive and assertive enough with my carbing up on peak week. And this follows along from the fact that I didn't practice. Because I didn't practice, I didn't know how aggressive I could be for my body and the way that I would burn through the carbohydrates. It turned out that when I started adding carbs in, my body burnt through that shit like it was nothing. I must have been so depleted because I was just throwing carbs and they didn't even touch the sides. So that led to me still feeling pretty flat and struggling to get a pump right before stage, and that is literally the opposite of what you want. You want to be bursting full, and I still felt a little bit flat. And I know exactly why this was. Because I hadn't practiced peak week, I didn't know how aggressive I could be. And because I was in that mindset of extremely low calories for a very long time, I got down to 1600 calories. Adding any calories when you're in that mindset of, I'd been trying to lose weight and cut my calories for 14 weeks, over 3 months. At that point, calories equal getting fat. So I was terrified to add calories. I was adding like 40 calories a day, 10 grams of carbs. And when my body was burning through carbs at the rate it was, I definitely could have at least doubled that rate during my linear load. So I did a progressive linear load, which was recommended to me by Steve Hall, and I completely agree, looking back, that it was the right way to go. I was just too much of a wuss with it. I was too scared to add calories, and if I had practiced, I wouldn't have been so scared. I would have added more calories, I would have been more full on stage, and I still probably wouldn't have spilled over because I was burning through that shit, and it's a linear load, it is safe. So the moral of the story so far is practice your peak and be more aggressive than you think you need to be. And then the third mistake I made on peak week is more of a mistake that I made on show day, and this was the actual pump up before stage. I badly mistimed my pumping up. I basically ended up trying to get and maintain a pump for a good 40 to 50 minutes before actually stepping on stage. And if you've ever tried to do that before, especially when you're still feeling flat because you haven't carved up properly, it's not the easiest thing to do. Pre-stage, you are not that warm. You're pretty cold, so it's already harder to get a pump. I was flat. It was already harder to get a pump. Getting one and then holding it for 50 minutes is a whole nother ballgame. And yes, this wasn't entirely my fault. The UFE show that I did wasn't amazingly ran, and we weren't told exactly when we'd be on stage. We were told, oh, it will be in 10 minutes. Half an hour later, we are still nowhere near to going on stage. And then suddenly it's like, okay, now, go, 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 go. So yes, I mistimed it. Kind of wasn't my fault, but it is what it is. What I should have done is waited until I saw a few guys going on stage before me. You know, when we were lined up, the person that was 3 people before me, maybe start pumping up then, rather than trying to pump up when I thought would be good, because 40 to 50 minutes of pumping up, by the end of it I was exhausted. Rather than being energetic, full and pumped, ready to go on stage, I felt tired and lethargic and fed up from doing a million banded curls, lateral raises and push-ups on the floor. So those are the 3 big mistakes that I made around peak week, in my opinion anyway. And to be honest, I would say that is not bad at all for a first timer doing their peak week completely uncoached. If I had wanted to bring my absolute best package to stage, if I wanted to be extremely competitive as I could have been, then yes, I definitely should have had a coach throughout the whole of prep, let alone peak week, to guide me and help me make more informed, sensible decisions. That being said, I approached this pretty casually. I wanted to see what I was capable of by myself, rather than having a coach, and I wanted to make mistakes because I wanted to make mistakes and then learn from them. So personally, I wasn't concerned about the mistakes I made, but my advice 100% would be to get a coach to guide you through it if you don't want to make those mistakes. Overall, I got a lot of experience, I got a lot of things right, I got a lot of things wrong, and I had a bloody good time. I loved it, so I really can't complain. If you have any questions about mistakes I made on peak week, recommendations for your peak week, any questions about the whole bodybuilding men's physique process in general, drop them in the comment section and I'll do my absolute best to answer them. I'll be completely honest and transparent. If I thought something's shit, I'll tell you it's shit. If you need help with stepping on stage and you want somebody with a little bit of experience like I now have, get in touch. The top link in my description. You can find out all about my online coaching and how to work with me. Or you can email ashmaypt@gmail.com and we can have a chat and discuss how to move forward. Subscribe to my channel. I post new videos every single week, so join the team and don't miss out. If you enjoyed the video and you learned something from it, hit the thumbs up button. It really helps the channel and it is always appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next one, see you later guys.